Well, good evening and welcome to the latest Irish Wake here on Mowing After Dark. I told Rock and Rant after yesterday's show or after yesterday's game, went to Kentucky, got me a case worth. So that will last me through the rest of the season at least.
Maybe just the show.
Yeah, Ohio State's only got one more game this season. It'll last me through that. So we're going to get into Ohio State. We're going to get into Ryan Day. We're going to get into Miami. We're going to get into their lack of a defense. There will be rants here. Rock will rant, as his name says. Moen will rant. I just want to give everybody a heads up. This will be not safe for work. So if you're at work, I would suggest turning the show off, maybe catching us a little later. Or if you're looking for a PG stream, I'm sure there's a PG football stream out there on Sunday night. But before we get started here, I would like to remind you to all hit the like button and subscribe. And if you're watching on demand, feel free to leave us a comment. And if you're feeling generous, by all means, you can leave us a super chat, a super sticker, or gift a membership to the Mafia family by clicking the little cash icon down by the chat window. All right.
I never shill for those, but I would just say, like, super chats are deserved tonight for us even being here and taking the grief we're going to.
We are in mourning. I'm a little more in mourning than him. He beat both his rivals this year. But we are both in mourning. Rock, how are you doing today?
I'm like numb, man. I'm more probably baffled than angry in the sense of I just don't understand how we could have basically a national championship offense and your kid's 0-8 junior high school team's defense. I don't fathom that. Even moderately bad is a perfect season when it's all said and done. And now I have to basically not watch anything on YouTube I normally watch for 3 days while I listen to all of the SEC shilling. And it's not because I think that Miami deserves to be in, because I don't necessarily think that we deserve to be in. I just don't also want to hear people advocating for 3 lost teams in the college football playoff era either, ahead of other schools. And that might be Miami, but it could be another school that has 1 or 2 losses at a lower conference, according to ESPN. But I was like not shocked. There was a reason I was the only one who picked Syracuse plus the points in our spread. And it wasn't because I actually thought Miami would lose, but I knew enough to know that it would not be more than 11 points. How about you? How are you recovering on day 2 with 24 hours under your belt?
Well, I'll put it this way. I've got yelled out 3 times today because just out of nowhere, I've screamed fuck. That's the way it's going to be. It's hard to explain to people. I'm sure you understand it, in-state rivals, but out-of-state rivalry this big, it screws up your whole year. There is no getting over it. This is 4 years in a row. 4 years of losing to that team up north. Ryan Day cannot get it done. Jim Harbaugh was 100% correct. He was born on 3rd, thinks he hit a triple. Just a terrible, terrible head coach at Ohio State. We've got 3 goals at Ohio State. Beat your rival, go to the Big Ten championship game, win a national championship. He screwed the pooch on 2 of those goals yesterday alone.
Right.
Yesterday alone.
Really weird game, man. It's like in neutral, well, not really neutral, but like in third party. That was a strange game to watch.
Yeah, it's all mental with him. He couldn't listen. I don't know who was calling the plays. I'm sure Ryan Day was having final say, but Chip Kelly, you've got a backup center in there, and you keep running at the line. Michigan has 2 first-round draft picks on their defensive line, and you run right at them with a backup center. And it never worked. It never. You had a couple decent-sized runs, never worked. You've got the best wide receiver room in the country. Throw the fucking ball. Seriously, it's not that hard of a concept. I mean, when my 12-year-old niece is asking me, why don't they throw the ball? And she doesn't even watch football. But watching that game, why don't they throw the ball? Why don't they throw the ball? You got me, because obviously Ryan Day, he makes $8-9 million a year, and he knows more than a 12-year-old girl about football, right? Well, apparently not, because Ryan Day couldn't figure out how to throw the fucking rock. He just kept running it into the defensive tackles from Michigan and then scratching his head while they went 3 and out. And then our kicker. 2 field goals you missed from that distance. I got a bad back. I could have hit them field goals. You could have moved them 10 I could have hit them field goals.
1 out of every 3 kickers on the college game day with McAfee makes them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we could have got somebody from the student section to come out there and kick field goals for us. They would have had at least a 50-50 shot, which was way better than our field goal kicker did yesterday. Will Howard threw some bad interceptions. That's still not a reason not to throw the ball. You didn't target Jeremiah Smith at all in the second half. Ryan Day has to go, guys. He has to go. I cannot abide another John Cooper. I lived through the John Cooper years. I remember he had a 2-11-1 record against Michigan. Ryan Day is setting the pace for that. He historically said he wanted to hang 100 on Michigan. He just didn't tell us it was going to be in 5 or 6 games combined. And I'm sorry, Ryan Day, everybody says, Ryan Day's a great guy. Ryan Day's a good family man. Well, fuck him. Stay at home and play with your kids. Because I don't want you in the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. I put it on Twitter yesterday. He should never have been allowed in the locker room. He should never be allowed in the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. They should have packed his shit and left it at the front door, taken his credentials, and fired him on the field. He is not a good coach. He can beat any mid-team you want him to beat. Fantastic. You're right. Urban Meyer, sometimes he would lose to Purdue and Iowa. But you know what Urban Meyer didn't do? He didn't lose to Michigan. He was 7-0 against Michigan. And those were good Michigan teams. Ryan Day lost to probably the worst Michigan team I can remember since Brady Oak. They couldn't throw the ball, and you lost to them. And this isn't against the defense from Ohio State, because those defensive kids went out there and played their ass off. Jack Sawyer saved a touchdown for you. They played their ass off. And you couldn't do a goddamn thing to help them out on offense, but run the fucking ball up the middle. Up the fucking middle. With a backup center against 2 all-pro defensive tackles. Well, let's run it up the center, Chip. Let's run it up the center. Yeah, we've got Emeka Egbuka, Ennis, Tate, fucking Jeremiah Smith, a generational talent. Don't target them. Keep running it up the fucking middle of the field. And maybe one time it'll break. It's unreal, guys. And I'm sorry to rant. I'll give you your time, Rock. I promise. I will let you rant about the Miami Hurricanes. But I am fucking sick and tired of being sick and tired. I'm over it. He can't get it done against the big-time games. He couldn't get it done against Oregon. The only reason he got it done against Penn State is because James Franklin has the same problem with Ohio State that he has with Michigan. He cannot get it done. Hit the fucking bricks. You can't close shit. You are shit. Hit the bricks. Put Brian Hartline in there as an interim head coach for the playoff game. Let's make a run at Urban Meyer. Let's make a run at Mike Vrabel. I don't give a shit. People say, well, you can't hire Urban Meyer. The media won't like it. Fuck the media. You know what Ohio State media would like? They'd like to be 7-0 against Michigan again. They'd like to compete for a national championship again. They'd like that very much. So if the national media doesn't like it, fuck them. Fuck them. I want to beat Michigan. I paid good money to the fucking Booster Association to beat Michigan. There's a lot of people who put a $20 million roster together to fucking beat Michigan. Not to whoop up on Purdue, not to whoop up on Indiana, to beat fucking Michigan. And it was a 6-win Michigan team. Fuck that. Fuck that. I'm sorry. Ryan Day has to go. And Sam Kim, I see you in the chat. You think I'm overreaching. The outrage is getting fake as fuck. Trust me, I am not overreaching. Trust me. I went through about 100 rounds of ammo yesterday, shooting targets in the backyard. I've been screaming fuck just at the most inopportune times today because I remember the game and it pisses me off that much. I want Ryan Day gone. Fuck, $34 million. We paid $27 million for a roster this year. We'll pay the $37 million to get him out of his contract. He's got to go. He's got to go. And I know for a lot of people who don't have real strength, Marcus Williams, he's a Michigan guy, but he understands it. He went through the years where it was losing to Urban Meyer for 7 years in a row. He understands the pain and the hurt that comes from this. And if this was a good Michigan team, it would still hurt, but it wouldn't hurt that bad. This is a bad Michigan team.
And you weren't on the road either.
Bad. Yeah. We were at home. And you know what? The crowd started chanting, fuck Ryan Day. And they were right. They were 100% right. They should have chanted, fuck Ryan Day, fire Ryan Day. And you know what happens when they're fighting out on the field after the game because they try and plant their flag? What's Ryan Day doing? He's standing 30 yards away with his hands in his pockets.
That was wild.
With his hands in his pockets. He should have went into that locker room and he should have stopped Ross Bjork on the way off the field and say, let you know, I'm resigning. Go ahead and promote Brian Hartline to head coach. Went into the locker room, apologized to every fucking senior on that in the team, apologized to everybody who transferred, go up to Caleb Downs because Caleb Downs played lights out yesterday, and apologized to him that he left an Alabama team to come play at Ohio State, and their shitty head coach could not get it done. Could not get it done. And if you think they're going to win a playoff game, they're not. This is Ryan Day's MO. They will play an SEC team, and they will somehow get blown out by him. Why? Because he's Ryan Day. He can't get it done. And I was up until yesterday, I was a Ryan Day apologist. I was. I would say, yeah, but you know, Ryan, he beats the teams he's supposed to beat. Yeah, but you know, Ryan, it's just some bad luck. Marvin Harrison Jr. got knocked out in that Georgia game. Yeah, you know, but fuck Ryan Day. Fuck him.
And just to back you on that, I asked you multiple times in the beginning of the season on head coach hot list seats and everything about this game and this season specifically, and not one time did you say that was like a real thing this year. So you're not, playing the outcome. Like, you were actually doing exactly what you said in terms of one-on-one conversations we had, and a couple of them that probably bled over onto the show earlier in the year before this became a thing. So, you're definitely changing your tune a bit.
I'm done. I can't apologize to him. I can't apologize for him anymore. They were right. They should have fired him. And again, it was a scapegoating. It was the Michigan cheating scandal and this one and that one, and that's why he couldn't beat Michigan. He had no excuses this year. He was at home with a team that's only lost came to the number one team in America on the road by 1 point.
Well, most of my fucks, Owen, came with about 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter when I was watching how fast Miami was not playing on offense, knowing full well that the only way that Miami was going to win this game was to have either the last possession to tie it up or go for two, or at least go into overtime when crazy stuff happened. And when they went on this drive for 5 or 6 minutes, like, you're literally never getting the ball back. You need to go faster. You can't have any expectations that your defense is going to hold there. And then when they get down to the 10-yard line, one of the biggest problem children of last year, Jacoby George, who got like 97 personal foul, unsportsmanlike conduct penalties all season, decides to do it then and there. And then Mario, for the first time, is actually following some idiot's statistical analysis cards and says that, well, it was outside the 10, it was a field goal, so you're going to kick up 3 points, you're still going to be down to need to score a touchdown with like under 4 minutes left. But if it was, 9 yards and 2 feet and 11 inches, you would have gone for it. And then you have the idiot with the penalty and, completely screws up the game. And then you get the ball back, you're on defense, you're defending, and your guy who's literally lined up over center goes offsides and takes away any remote chance you have of putting your ball in the hand. So you get a generational quarterback, Heisman contender, not going to win. You take the ball out of his hands on fourth down when you need a touchdown to tie the game, and assume that your defense, which hasn't stopped at a stop sign the entire year, is going to somehow take the ball and get it back to your quarterback to try to score in the last second. The first half they come out. How do you blow a 21-point lead? The second quarter for Miami the entire season was a joke. I have literally no idea how they could come out so strong, have such great second halves, and just go like missing in action. And the defense is just generationally bad. So if you have got an Amber Alert and you could tell me where the defense is, please call the authorities.
Yeah, and Ohio State will be a 2-loss team that ends up in the playoff. Miami will be a 2-loss team that gets left out.
Yeah, we will be the first one out most likely.
Yeah,
and I'm not even necessarily
SMU wins.
Yeah, if SMU wins, that's the only chance Miami has to make it, but I don't think they're going to. One, because I don't think they're going to. Two, because the propaganda network's going to go nutso. And I don't really want to hear about TV ratings, because if Miami wound up being the 12th team, they would be playing Notre Dame in South Bend. So you can put Alabama, anybody else you want in there and say TV ratings. Miami versus Notre Dame is a bigger draw in that specific case because of the history, or at least on equal ground. But I'm not trying to argue for Miami over somebody else. I'm trying to argue two lost teams over 3 lost teams, especially ones that get blown out. And Oklahoma is a terrible team. I'll take Miami's 2 losses. It's just unfortunate that the schedule broke and there are no major massive wins on Miami's schedule. Maybe I'll be surprised. I have 0 expectations of that, and Miami did it to itself. It was all in your control to do it. So, Mario, was better as a coach this year, but when it came down to it, they did not address the defensive secondary, which everyone said from the beginning was going to be a problem. It turned out to be way worse, and even in the worst nightmares of drunken foolery you could ever have. And the one time that he should have had a little bit more balls after going for it. That's the other thing. He went for it on 4th and 3s all year. In the second quarter, twice he punted. I literally have no idea how that suddenly changed.
Yep, and I just want to get this comment. We'll get to your guys' comments, and I apologize, but listen, I've talked to Ohio State people all day yesterday. This is my chance to decompress. I apologize. I usually don't level this much shit on people, but I am so pissed off. Greg Pflugar, God bless him, gave me a call last night at about 8 o'clock to check on me. So, but he had put on his thing before he went live. He said, lots of anger in Columbus. Anger isn't even the beginning. It doesn't do justice to the word we're feeling. It is righteous indignation. Michigan is in Ryan Day's head. I get that. Will firing him change anything? Not sure, mates. Yes, it will. It will, because he's 1-4 against them. He can't get it done against Michigan. It's obvious. I hear where you're coming from, Sam, but we've seen this script in Columbus. We had a guy named John Cooper, multiple 10-win seasons. He would always recruit like hell. He was great. Look at the talent he got. Dan Wilkinson and Mike Vrabel and Eddie George and Joey Galloway and all the Terry Glenn, all these fantastic players that John Cooper recruit. He couldn't get it done against Michigan. Could not get it done against Michigan. And he had to go. And it took way too long. I don't want to sit there and wait 11 years to get to the point where Ryan Day hits John Cooper's record. I don't. I want somebody from Ohio State in there. The previous coach, Urban Meyer, started off at Ohio State as a graduate assistant. Coach prior to that, Jim Tressel, started out there at Ohio State. I want somebody from Ohio State who understands the importance of this game. That's what I want. And that's not
wild. That's wild, because on the Miami front, for years until Mario came back, we were sick of everybody saying we needed Miami guys because the Miami guys didn't get the freaking job done. Not that Al Golden did either, but it's just wild how things go back and forth on that side. But I understand where you're coming from on that. It might be a little bit different of a coaching family tree there at Ohio State.
It would hurt less to lose every game but the Michigan game. And I know people think, well, wow, you'd rather have a 1-10 season and beat Michigan. Yes, I would. I cannot begin to illustrate to you guys. There's some Buckeyes in the chat. I know you understand it. I saw Marcus Williams in the chat earlier. I know he gets it. It's super frustrating, guys. But we will get to your comments. I apologize if my rant went a little too long or rubbed people the wrong way. But Ryan Day needs to be fired. And that's, And we'll come back to that several times during the night, I'm sure, because every time the game yesterday pops into my head, it just sets me off again.
Well, Moen, the one thing I will say when you go back and you look at the full stream, there's a portion of your edit that is completely ripe for a new CFB Mafia song to go alongside the Ute Milk song. So just know you'll see it. It's almost like you did the beat with Fire Ryan Day, almost like in between verses. So I think you'll find some library music or AI generated stuff to really throw that one down.
All right, somebody timestamp that for me. All right, let's get to say hello to some people. Timothy Green, well, Neil Brown is gone at West Virginia. I wonder who we get next. Let's go Mountaineers. I got a coach for you. Hey, Moen, just wondering, do you think Ohio State will keep their coach now after losing to the team up north? With all due respect, they'll keep him till the playoff game. Once he's out of the playoffs, he will probably. Now, they might let him resign. They might let him take the Chicago Bears job. I think that's what they would prefer, and then they would just waive the buyout. But if not, they probably will have to. Laura Weiss says, hey, y'all, Tech fired our DC and secondary coach today. Maybe Miami should do something similar, Rock.
In about 6 days. once, or maybe not even 6 days, potentially after Tuesday. But we'll see.
It sure doesn't take long for the coaching carousel to begin. Day one after season was over explosive. Yeah, we've got four openings in the A4, I believe. We've got Gus Malzahn left UCF to become the OC at Florida State. I don't know. We'll see.
I got to take on that one while you're right there before you go off.
Go for it.
First of all, I know from seeing some Florida State boards that there's a lot of unhappiness with that one, but maybe there's some people looking for sunshine. I think Gus is washed, right? And I know I've heard some say that, well, if he goes out there recruiting with the Florida State brand on him, that it'll be a really good thing. And I don't at all doubt that adding the Florida State brand to you as a person out there in recruiting is good. But the fact of the matter is, if you looked at UCF's recruiting team rankings heading into yesterday before this all went down, they were ranked 60th in signing days on Wednesday. They were 60th in the middle of Orlando, which was good for 12th in the Big 12, in the hottest recruiting state within the profile of the Big 12. If you go back to like Scott Frost's second year, they were like higher than that after 2 years. Not a lot higher, but they also weren't in the Big 12 there. So I'm skeptical that you're going to have much better results than people think. He's not 47. He's not 53. He's a little bit up there now relative for coaches, but and I'm not trolling. I'm giving you like my real opinion, not because I think it's good or bad or hating on Florida State. Like that's what I really think. I would say the same thing for anybody else that he went to. So we'll see. But yeah, that was an interesting non-head coach firing. And then there was a few more that came out. So go back to what you were about to say before I interrupted.
Mac Brown was let go of his job by North Carolina. And today, Ryan Walters and Neil Brown were both told they will not be retained by Purdue or West Virginia.
And then FIU also let go of their coach for whatever that's worth, which is not necessarily a lot.
Dallas Marquez says, let's go. Somebody says, can't wait for this show to start. I expect fireworks. Hopefully I didn't disappoint you. There might be more fireworks later on in the show.
It's a good thing your bet wasn't due this week from last week.
That's true. Hello, CFM fam. Go Devils. Marcus Williams, I will never say that word. I don't care if you beat us 100 times in a row.
In honor of Moen this week, I can't substitute.
Yeah, we're not saying that. Bob Swanger, hello, Moen and Rock and Rant. Good to see you, Bob. Illini Ted says, hello, fellas, drinking away the blues.
Purely in mourning. The backdrop says it all.
It's a good old-fashioned Irish wake where we get drunk and we fight. At least around here it is. Stephen Vitt says, oh, boy, hey, he's got a winning team from Ohio that's going to be playing in a championship game. Congratulations, Stephen.
That's Ohio versus Miami of Ohio, right?
Yes, Ohio versus Miami of Ohio. Battle for Ohio. FF18 Buff says, evening moan and rant quite the weekend. Are we having fun yet? Go Buffs. I'm telling you what, Deion Sanders is building a beast out there. Did you see all the commits that flipped this week to Colorado? Quite impressive.
Yeah, I don't think Deion's going anywhere, but he can. And then you can see that recruiting class leave instantly. Should that happen?
David Frame, nice dog. West Virginia fired Neil Brown, Jimbo Fisher, or Nick Saban inbound. I don't think so. Jimbo's not going to give up all that free money he's getting by taking another coaching job, and I don't think Nick Saban would be interested.
Yeah, I mean, Nick Saban, I know Greg said it earlier, you call him. Like, I hope for West Virginia's sake that you don't get Jimbo Fisher. I think that would be a terrible, 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 terrible hire.
I think you call Nick Saban and ask him to advise you on the hire. That way you can get him in there and then just keep putting bad candidates in front of him until he takes the job. Line Ted says, guess giving up 66 was enough to swing Purdue admin to say Walters isn't going to work as if the first 10 games weren't enough of a sample size. Worst team in Power 4. We mentioned it on the Big Ten Mafia show last week. We didn't understand how Ryan Walters was still there. Earl Carr says he jinxed my teams. I forgive you, Earl Carr. You're a member. I forgive you. Wish Coach Ryan Walters has succeeded, but Coach Prime can have him come home to Boulder as an analyst and restart the Saban coach rehab facility. Walters is a good defensive coordinator, Brock. Maybe take a look at him.
I just can't, even if he's great, I just can't fathom having a 6-month off season of listening to people say that we hired the guy who was the head coach at Purdue. I just don't want to hear that conversation.
Okay.
Even if he was great DC.
A very good DC at Illinois. Disappointing year for my Cougars. I would disagree, Earl. Yes, you did not make the title game for your conference, but most people had you picked towards the bottom of the Big 12. So
disappointing finish, but I mean, you guys outperformed everyone's expectations, maybe other than your own. And I don't really remember hearing a lot of BYU fans thinking that championship was on the line. Basketball championship, I heard, right, with all the money being invested.
Marcus Williams says, as a Michigan man, I'm loving this. I bet you are. Ryan Day is a nice guy, though. That's great. Stay at home and have a cookout with your neighbors, Ryan. Leave the football to people who actually give a shit. Watching Mo and Volcano meltdown. Trust me, guys. This was way worse yesterday. It was way worse.
Moen was like a turkey frying accident in real time.
Yes. I have no information from anyone. I'm just thinking Jimbo said never say never, and plus he gets paid the same no matter what because it's Texas A&M contract. That's true, but I think he would rather sit kicked up, take that free money, go fishing.
I also don't know if you want a coach who has no additional financial motivation until his next contract, which still has a few years to go, to be that guy.
Nicole Auerbach is calling for Ryan Day to be fired. I wouldn't understand why she would do that. She's a Michigan alum. She should be calling for him to get a fucking 10-year extension. Ohio Soft University had more fight after the game than during. The defense, no, you can't say that, Marcus Williams. The defense showed up yesterday. It was the coaches. It was the coaches and the kicker.
I mean, yesterday with that moment and the three that followed is like the inevitable output of not enforcing sportsman-like conduct penalties going back years, right? And then it gets super accelerated in one day, and then completely unrelated, but like another gross moment in the Jaguars game today. Like, if you don't call that stuff, then things just accelerate.
Day was also sitting dumbfounded on the sideline while his team ran out to start a fight. Yeah, because it doesn't matter to him. Doesn't matter. If Woody Hayes, let me tell you something. If Woody Hayes had seen them plant the flag, Woody Hayes would have been out there swinging. He's just going to stand around with his hands in his pockets. Sam Kim says, chill out. Ohio State will still beat most teams in the playoff, not with Ryan Day as the head coach. Caleb Ramirez. Hi, everyone. Hey, Caleb. How you doing today?
Owen's fine.
Buy out and hire Sean McVay. No, I want somebody from Ohio State. Marcus Williams correcting him. This is real pain, Sam Kim. I'm sorry if you don't like it. You might want to find another stream, dude. It's going to be what it's going to be. It's one thing if it's a top 5 Michigan team. This was not that. Yeah, it was easy last year. You could go back and say, oh, that was a national championship Michigan team. This year you can go back and say they didn't even have a fucking quarterback on the roster.
Yeah, the best Michigan quarterback is at home watching on TV.
Marcus Williams he went through the Urban Meyer years. He knows losing 7 in a row, it fucking sucks. Let's see. Day really has no excuse. He didn't prepare his team. Oh, he had plenty of excuses in the post-game presser.
No, it's not a good thing to say in the post-game presser on any question, even if you don't know. I don't know.
Yes. Ross Bjork fired Jimbo. He's not afraid to fire Ryan. Yeah, like, trust me, he was on the phone yesterday for about 6 hours taking calls from people. So I'm sure he was rounding up the money for the eventual firing. Here we go. Here's one for you. Seminole School. Rock and Rant, just want to say I genuinely feel for you, man. Lord knows I hate your team, but your fan base deserves at least one great season in 2 decades.
Yeah, it's not super fun, but it's still an improvement. But you had a Heisman caliber quarterback and offense. Brutal way to go out shooting yourself in the foot, but at least we're not 2-10.
Earl Carr says, Mo, and yes, losing 4 to Michigan. Imagine being in my place and losing 9 years straight to Utah. I don't need to imagine. I lived through the John Cooper years. I can completely understand where you're coming from. Completely understand. Buckeyes will. This is from Greg. Thank you for calling me on Saturday, Greg. Buckeyes will defeat the Volunteers because Ohio State's something. Ohio State's shit, probably. The outrage is fake because we saw the game. Ryan Day wanted to bulldoze Michigan, and it did not work. Yeah, and when it didn't work, he should have changed the fucking plan.
Or at least send Jeremiah Smith into the transfer portal so he can go somewhere else and be used right in a big game.
Buckeyes D-line will decimate Vols O-line. That's fantastic. Fantastic, Greg. But will Ryan Day call the right plays? Or will he tell Chip on the intercom, hey, dial up another run for me up the middle?
What do you think is going on there? Do you think that Chip's not getting – did Chip shit the bed too? Or did Ryan Day overrule his OC?
Ryan ultimately has the play call. It's ultimately on him. So he was probably asking Chip Kelly, give me a run play. Give me a run play. Give me a run. What do you like? Run? Run. Okay. Here's another run play.
That's your warning, Florida State fans, because that wasn't what was sort of told ahead of time, right? Like the Chip Kelly would have more freedom when he came to some degree, but not that Ryan Day is going to step out. So when you think about Gus Malzahn going to Mike Norvell, just Ohio State's an example of what can happen.
Yes. Well, Howard threw an interception. Well, don't let him throw it the rest of the game. Okay, keep chopping. Has a question for you. Why kick a field goal when you know your defense is trash?
My IQ is too high to answer that question. I have no idea. Like, I literally have no idea. The only thing I could think of that could justify it at all is if you had been moving fast enough to assume that you get the field goal, Syracuse is going to come back, and you're going to get a touchdown because you're going to get enough time to get the ball again to win it, right? So you're getting the 3 points instead of having to worry about getting 2 points. I thought it was fundamentally the worst decision of the season. Not because in and of itself it's a bad decision, but they didn't have enough time left. They had already used a timeout, so they didn't have 3 timeouts plus the 2-minute warning, and they were going so slow. They were burning clock out to not give enough time to even get the ball back. So completely flawed, asinine strategy. I know Mario said that the analytics told him something. So like I'll give him points for like actually knowing what the analytics are, and he's not been brutal this year, but I thought it was a completely shit call.
If the OSU kicker could kick the damn ball, they will win the game. And you know I'm not an OSU fan. You're right, but here's the problem. You shouldn't be leaving it in your kick. If he missed one kick, he's probably going to miss another. Why not? You've got the best wide receiver room in America. I don't even think it's debatable.
At the worst, it's top 3, right? But most likely number 1.
It's certainly better than whatever Michigan had. So throw the damn ball, go for it on 4th down. If you went for it on 4th down and missed, I'd probably be a lot more forgiving than going for a field goal with a kicker who's already missed one. My advice to my Buckeye fans, get a better QB with all that money y'all have. We had C.J. Stroud for 2 years and Ryan Day couldn't get it done. And you can't say C.J. Stroud isn't a good quarterback because he's blowing it up in the NFL. If you guys bought the Miami QB, you guys would be undefeated. Just saying no, because Ryan Day would have called a run. I get that Will Howard threw 2 interceptions. The problem was Ryan Day consistently ran behind a patchwork offensive line against the strength of the Michigan defense.
The one thing I'll give Mario is he went against his tendency this year and let Cam Ward and Shannon Dawson take advantage of Cam Ward and learn to like be able to accept the little bit of craziness that most Miami fans were worried he would try to limit with his bully ball. Ryan Day, was a cause of some bad play calls there.
This is from Keep Chopping, our Rutgers fan. We all know Alabama is the last team in, just what it is. You're probably right. It's probably South Carolina. I think South Carolina is going to be the last one.
I can accept South Carolina just because I know how much it will trigger part of the conference and that fan base. I just want somebody else, like anyone else. If I wish it was Miami, I don't think it's going to be, but anybody else, because I can't unwatch the Oklahoma game or the Vanderbilt game for that matter.
Moen, it's your show, it's your team. America felt the way you did watching that game and listening to Day's weak ass comments. Yes, it's Moen. Who do you want to replace him? Somebody from Ohio State. Promote Brian Hartline. I'm fine with if you promote Brian Hartline. I would ideally like you to promote Brian Hartline and let him coach to the playoff run. Or failing that, fire Ryan Day and go to Urban Meyer and say, will you do the kind of Barry Alvarez gig? Barry Alvarez did that a few years ago when their coach left. He took over and coached the bowl game. So maybe go to Urban Meyer and say, hey, look, you want to coach the playoff run? Coach the playoff run, then Hartline takes over. Something. But somebody who gets it. It's got to be somebody who gets it. Moen, is it Campbell that's taking over his job? No, it's going to be somebody from Ohio State. Would Ohio State even consider bringing back Urban? You better believe it.
I don't know about. I mean, I know you guys might consider that, but the history of coaches returning somewhere and ever achieving anything close to what they did before is very slim.
Caleb Ramirez, do you think he stays if he wins the championship? I don't think he can win a championship. That's a problem. I just don't think he can win one, Caleb. He can't get it done against Michigan. We're going to survive another. I don't know how old you are. You might not remember John Cooper years, but are we going to survive another one of those John Cooper years?
But that could be the ultimate win-win for Ohio State, right? Because if he were to win the championship, just playing it out that way, which is not out of the realm of possibility from I didn't just get like destroyed mentally over the last 24 hours by that loss. I had my own to deal with. If he wins the championship, the NFL is not going to look at his inability to not beat Michigan over the last few years as a hindrance. They'll look at the overall record, the talent he's produced, the quarterbacks that have gotten in. And depending upon how many openings are out there, he has a chance, if he chose to this time, like was rumored last year, to go to the NFL. And that would be a way for Ohio State to, get out of a contract they know in a bad marriage and have somebody get you something you want, but not have to keep living with them.
By the way, Kevin Warren, former Big Ten commissioner, is the president of the Chicago Bears. So, and he always liked Ryan Day, so he can have him. Roll Tide Roll says at the end of all this, if this team, this or that, the champion will be a SEC team. Facts. Yeah, best conference in America. So. That's why you needed the refs for Georgia to beat Georgia Tech. And here, cheers to the SEC officials. Cheers.
I do not believe at all that the SEC will be winning the title. I don't know. I don't think anyone's beating Oregon. That's my preseason pick. I have no reason to change it. And drinking Kool-Aid for a conference just because you're in the conference, I think is kind of strange for any conference. You know, maybe it's because I hate the ACC so much, but
Marcus Williams wants Ryan Day to stay. And that's the exact reason we need to get rid of him. I don't know if it's so much losing. It's that they were 19-point favorites, probably the biggest underdog victory in the series. They were 23.5 points favorites when the game started yesterday. It closed at 23.5. We picked it this week at 20.5. And the line moved to 23.5. So $37 million buyout. We've got the money. We can afford it.
That's for Ohio State. That's manageable. It's not like saying $68 million to Florida State and Mike Norvell.
Caleb Ramirez says, "What about Eddie George for the Ohio State coach? Hey, make a run at him. I mean, he's done an admirable job at Tennessee State. The only problem, I think, Caleb, is when they approached him to be the running back coach. When Alford left, he declined him. He wanted to stay in Tennessee. So I don't know. I would prefer that we just promote Hartline. I think it's time that he's a head coach, and I don't really want to lose him. So Ben Johnson is my play if I'm the Bears.
Ben Johnson is like 7 other teams play too, so he's going to have he'll have his pick, and it might be the Bears, but he's going to have his choice.
Ryan Willie, who's been a member for 11 months. Did the SEC get their refs from the WWE? No, the WWE refs do a much better job acting surprised.
And they stick to the script.
And they stick to the script. That's right. Well, the SEC did too. I mean, that pass interference call in that Georgia Tech game, my God, I've had farts more aggressive than that was a pass interference. That was just blatant. And the fumble that was a clear targeting.
Well, remember, that's a really strong, team for Georgia to play now, but a disastrous loss for Miami.
Timothy Green says, you talking about disappointing. How about a 6-6 season and losing the back door? That's right. You lost to your rival. Should be fun.
But you got what you wanted today. So there's optimism heading into the offseason.
Yes, but you were up by double digits on your rival in the fourth quarter. We were tied going into the fourth and lost the game on what was essentially a last-second field goal. But don't worry. When there was 37 seconds left, they let Will Howard throw the ball. Becky Go Husky says, I hate today. I feel you, Becky. But hey, look at it this way, Becky. You lost to a rival who is ranked number 1. We were number 2 and lost to a rival that was unranked. But that was not a great performance by the Washington O-line.
But Moen, if you average out your loss to Oregon and your loss to Michigan, you lost to the average 18th team. That's not as bad.
Replica says, I'm 28 and growing up, I saw Ohio State dominate Michigan my entire life, with exception to one fluke game. I never thought I'd see the day where they lose 4 in a row. The standards have dropped under Day. Yes, when we said we wanted the Michigan-Ohio State rivalry to be more exciting, we did not mean we wanted Ohio State to play down. We wanted Michigan to elevate themselves, not. Kyle Wilson says Ryan Day paints his beard with shoe black. He could paint it.
NIL deal.
He could paint it with whatever he wants as long as he beats Michigan. This dude could coach with a latex glove on his head naked, yelling, "I'm a squid." And if he beats Michigan, I would say retain him. It's a defense that still has a lot lost to a walk-on with leukemia. Yeah, you're right. They did. But, I mean, what do you want the defense to do? They were backed up into the red zone twice. They got, they stopped one touchdown.
The average defense that puts up that many points in a game in P4 wins like 90% of the time now.
I wish I wasn't a football fan today. By the way, I'm a leukemia survivor, so we can do incredible things. And I think that I probably could have coached a game where Ohio State beats Michigan. Becky Go Huskies, my co-host on the wonderful Big Ten Mafia show. Rough day for the college football Mafia family yesterday, yes.
Taking L's all over the place, but at least Moen's still guaranteed a slot.
Wild Jude is probably on cloud 9 with his Utes winning. No, I don't think so. Imagine losing 12 straight by double digits like my Huskies went through. Yeah, I don't want to go through that. I don't want to go through that, Becky. No offense. If you were keeping coaches that long when they were doing that, I don't want to do that. Son of Sarek says, I saw the OSU play sheet. It was 3 different versions of A-gap run. Yeah, I mean, it might not have worked the first 35 fucking times you ran it, but that 36th time, boy, it was going to break.
He did have it in like 10 different fonts, though, for the same play, so it was a little different.
True. Moen has the worst football weekend. Ohio and Bengals lost. Yes, but I anticipated the Bengals losing. The Bengals constantly lose to rivals. Jeremiah Smith had 35 yards against an awful secondary. That's criminal. Didn't Stoops do the same thing at Oklahoma a few years ago when they were between coaches? I don't recall that, but that's a possibility.
He did. He did come back for the bowl game a couple years ago. I think he did it right when Lincoln Riley bailed, if I'm not mistaken.
Just listen today. All he talked about was if you win rushing yards, you win. Like, what the fuck? Michigan had only one great unit, and that is interior defensive line, and he plays to their strength. Yes. Ryan Willie. I believe that Fickle only has one more year if he doesn't improve. I agree with you. And we don't want him back because he had a losing record to Michigan, too. Bob Stoops might be an option. Let Bob stay retired.
He's not even retired. He's like a coach in one of those USFL wannabes.
That's basically retired.
Coach on Saturdays like a dad.
That's basically retired. Come on. He coaches 7 weeks out of the year and gets to live in Florida. How terrible. Yeah, good family from Youngstown, Cardinal Mooney, Ohio State guy, but let Bob stay in retirement because his father did die very, very young. Moen, do not wish Ryan Day on us Bear fans. Please, we have separate enough. Sorry about it. It's going to happen. I'm going to will it to happen. Caleb Williams needs Ryan Day there to get it going. What season these drunk-ass SEC fans watching? Yeah, I don't know.
It just means more doesn't mean drink more, guys.
It just means more overtimes with that 8 overtime win against an unranked fucking Georgia Tech that you had to have the refs hand you 14 points on. Imagine cheering for the AFC North just you're a Steelers fan. Yeah. Yep.
Best comment of the night.
Jim F says Tuck Fexus. Glenn Hanna's in the chat. Good to see you, Glenn. Becky, I've wanted to ask, do you see Oregon-Washington as a big rivalry game? I know us Oregon folk think it is, but given the overall history, I wonder if it's even a big deal minus the last 10 years. Doesn't Chip call the plays? Chip calls the plays, but Ryan Day selects the plays. So if Ryan Day says, dial me up a run here, Chip's dialing him up a run. Don't forget that very impressive Mercer win for Bama. That alone should get them in. What a joke. Yeah, hey, FCS teams, they're tough. What do you think about the War Games match last night? I haven't watched it yet. I apologize. After I got done shooting my gun yesterday, I drove to Kentucky and got a case of whiskey. Becky Go Husky says we lost to both rivals, so she considers USC a rival. Line judge pulled that end zone flag after using his X-ray vision to see through the Georgia Tech DB's back. Yes, absolutely.
That was really rough. I was watching our friend of the channel, Rec Talks, live stream during that game, and just the range of emotions as those guys were going through that game. Brutal, man.
Jose, who's a USC fan, says, agree, Urban needs to return to Ohio State and F the world.
Joe, USC, they screwed me without a Trojan over the weekend with that.
And it looked like they were going to win. They looked good. They looked good. And then he threw an interception that was like so underthrown that it was like I could tell as soon as it left his hand. I said, "Well, that's getting picked off." Fucking
I have them in every single pool I did with the points, without the points. If I lose by one, it's going to be that mistake in the belief because I hate Notre Dame so much.
Moen, how fast do you think these jobs get filled? I don't think any of them is going to get filled fast. I think you're going to see an extensive interview process for all the currently open jobs.
Yeah, I mean, you got National Signing Day in 3 days, right? So no one's going to, maybe some schools announce really fast to recover their recruiting class, but most of the schools that are losing coaches, their recruiting class is already in the tank. The only thing if something really weird happens and a coach is in a good season, jumps really to a new program super fast, maybe they'll hire quickly to try to salvage what they can of their recruiting program. You will get people before the portal opens. I don't think you're going to have a lot of these jobs open when portal opens, which I think is like the 19th of December or something like that.
Stoops can coach with a beer in his hand in that USXFL, whatever. Kirby Smart just called another timeout. There you go. So is OSU trash for losing to Michigan when Texas hammered them? Make it make sense. No. Ohio State's coach is trash.
This whole transitive thing of teams in different years that you could do this whole thing, it doesn't work because it always works for somebody's one argument, but eventually it comes back around, and the next thing you know, you've lost to Georgia Southern by using it.
Oh, we lost Rock and Rant, but he will be back, I am sure. I will keep rolling on. The real question for tonight is, are we going to figure out what those drones are so we can tell Greg? Well, I don't know. If they used Ryan Day's playbook, they would just keep running a gap to the bases over there in the United Kingdom. They'd be real easy to shoot down. Rob Ellen, a Clemson fan. Sorry about your loss yesterday, Rob. Welcome. This is a support group. We can all talk to each other and put everything out there if you want to. Mike Vrabel should return to the mothership. I think he probably wants a job in the NFL again.
And he's going to get one if he wants one.
And he's probably going to get one if he wants one. He was, you can say what you want about Mike Vrabel, but Tennessee is a dumpster fire. Vrabel needs to come to the Bears, if not Ben Johnson. Purdue will move quick to a coach, hire in a couple weeks. Yeah, I think Jason Candle at Toledo is probably their best bet. Matt Schnuck. Lincoln Riley can go to the NFL. 6-6 at USC. Crap.
Would you rather be 6-6 USC or 5-7 UCLA with a first-year coach, or versus a super expensive Lincoln Riley after whatever that was, the fourth year?
I'd rather be USC because UCLA was so in debt they couldn't make a decent coaching hire last year. That's the reason they went with Deshaun Foster. They could not. They looked from beyond that coaching, but they couldn't afford anybody. So
Right.
I would have to take the USC job just based on the money, knowing that I have the money committed to put a winner on the field. All right, guys, we're going to get to some other stuff here. Let's go ahead and let me see what I want to do here first. I want to do the Week 14 standings from our pick'em. As soon as I upload it, get to see how everybody's done. Mullen is mathematically eliminated after this week, but we will be picking 9 championship games this week coming up. Palmer finished 2-6, Wild Ute at 4-4, Mullen at 3-5, Pickles at 2-6, Becky at 4-4, Rock went 3-5. Yes, nobody went above 500 this chaos week. Right now, Rock, you're still in the lead, 60-52. But Becky is close behind at 59-53. Pickles, Ute, and Bomber still all have a chance. You're on mute, Rock.
I was saying I think it'll take a 6-3 week to win this out of the 9 games in the conference championships.
Okay, Becky, you got to beat 6-3. So get them picks ready and get 7-2 in there. All right, let me share my screen here first. We're going to go over some things. First off, here's the AP poll, the top 25 for the week. Oregon remains number 1. Texas moves up to number 2. Penn State at 3. Notre Dame slides into the top 5 at 4. Georgia at number 5. Tennessee at 6. Ohio State falls only to 7. SMU is at number 8. Indiana's at number 9. Boise State is at 10. With Alabama, Arizona State, South Carolina Gamecocks, Miami Hurricanes, and Ole Miss Rebels rounding out your top 15. Yeah, something interesting here. I just noticed. Oregon beat their rival. Texas beat their rival. Penn State is unrivaled. Notre Dame beat their rival. Georgia beat their rival. Tennessee beat their rival. Indiana beat their rival. SMU doesn't have a rival yet.
Well, sort of TCU-ish, right? It's
okay,
probably the
TCU. We'll give them TCU. They beat their rival. Boise State, I don't know that they have a rivalry, but I'm sure they beat whoever it was. One team in the top 10 did not beat their rival, guys. By the way, number 11 and number 12 also beat their rival, as did number 13. As did number 14.
Twice.
So
as did number 15.
One team out of the top 14 did not get that done.
Did Iowa State beat Iowa?
Iowa State did beat Iowa. That's correct.
BYU beat Utah.
Beat Utah. Clemson fell to South Carolina.
I don't know who UNLV's rival would be specifically.
Their
Nevada.
rival is Nevada, and they won that game.
Colorado beat Colorado State.
Okay, yeah. I say they lost to Nebraska. Some people would consider that a rivalry.
Yeah, but like in-state is the one. I guess I don't know. I don't want to speak for Colorado, but I'm thinking that's been played all the time. Colorado and Nebraska. I don't know if they were playing when they were separated conference-wise or every year as much, but
Illinois beat their rival. Army has to play their rival yet, so we won't know how that. Just interesting, very interesting. Just wanted to put that out there, and let's get another screen up here for you. Let me zoom in on this if I can, so you guys can read it. Okay. This is from Michael Dunham, CFP. Wins over bowl eligible teams: Mizzou 5, Ole Miss 5, Miami 5, Georgia 5, Ohio State 5, Tennessee 5, Indiana 3, Clemson 1. Lots of SEC teams I don't see on that list.
Yeah, and these are the things that the wild cards, if there is any surprise in the last spot in, I think it's really just if SMU wins, there's really just a one spot conversation. It's like, what is the committee really looking at ultimately? In addition to the ones we all know, this is another factor, possibly. Whether it's a difference maker for anyone, I have no idea. But it is an interesting observation that the way you want to look at things can be sliced and diced a lot of different ways.
Absolutely. I just want to point that out. I see 3 SEC teams in there that got
4.
2 Big Ten teams in there. 4. There's 4 SEC teams. My mistake. 2 Big Ten teams in there. An ACC team in there. You got another Big Ten team at number 3 with 3 wins. You got an ACC team with 1. Just very interesting. Very interesting. And then the last screen I want to share is this comment from our friend Immaculate. By the way, Immaculate will probably be on the show this coming Sunday. Next Sunday, I should say, rather. This is the ESPN Top 25 FPI, by the way. And someone's going to have to explain some of this to me, because I just don't understand it. Texas is 1. Now, they beat Texas A&M, but it was not exactly a blowout. Notre Dame is number 2. Notre Dame struggled with, an average SC team. Ohio State is number 3. They lost to their 500 rival. They lost to them at home. How are they number 3? Do we not take coaching into consideration here? Alabama's 4. Georgia's 5. Oregon is 6. Tennessee is 7. Ole Miss is 8. Penn State is 9. Indiana's 10. Miami and SMU round out the top 12.
Well, the FPI, for those who don't know specifically the definition, I'm just going to read it off of the ESPN website, is an index that measures a team's true strength on a net point scale, expected point margin versus the average opponent on a neutral field. So taking away home field advantage, if you were playing them in a bowl game, everything after the opening round of the playoffs. And that's where it is. And like, if you're me and you're a Miami fan holding out hope for that last spot, it's like things like this that are on your side, right? But there are other things that are not: strength of schedule, strength of record, things along those lines, top 25 wins. So the College Football Playoff Committee has published things on the website, but there's not a point score percentage against all of those. And they have, if you've been watching the shows, often also done the eye test thing, whatever the hell that means. So you have 13 different sets of eyes seeing things differently. And some of them are looking through Moen's glasses. Some of them are looking through mine, and some of them need glasses ultimately.
Absolutely. But let me just point this out. This is the ESPN FPI index. And 4 SEC.
Who does the CFP?
4 SEC teams are in the top 10. Actually, 4 are in the top 8. 5 are in the top 8. 5 are in the top 8 are SEC teams. They've got number 1 Oregon ranked 6th. They've got independent Notre Dame ranked 2. I don't know. I don't know, guys.
Don't see Boise anywhere on here as another example.
Don't see Boise State on here. Football Power Index, what does it even mean? I know you read the definition, but that is just some schoolyard bullshit.
They made it up. They made their version of an index, essentially.
Yes. It's basically like, if Mike Tyson in his prime went out there and beat the shit out of a bunch of sparring partners, and they just counted them up as wins and said, yeah, he beat a guy who was 0-14. That's a solid win right there for him. Did you see he knocked him out in the first round?
I know Josh Pate does his own version of rankings, but his is really just based off like what Vegas would say on a neutral field. So it's a little bit more understandable. It's not a ranking, it's a rating, but they call it a ranking, but it's based off of Vegas-y neutral field. What would somebody be favored over another? So there's a little bit more, if you're a gambling person, understanding of how he's coming with that difference versus the playoff or the AP top 25.
Yes. By the way, Immaculate has his own power rankings. He will be on the show next week following the conference championship games to give his rankings on them and why he thinks they should be the way they should be, or why they are the way he has them. Should be interesting. I would advise everybody to tune in on that.
I have a power ranting. Don't kick a field goal when you're down 7 under 4 minutes when you have a Heisman quarterback with the ball on the 10-yard line.
I got a better one. Your field goal kicker could actually make a kick, and they put him out there.
Yes. Oh, by the way, shout out to the Groza Award, who nominated somebody and published the wrong stats about them, saying they were perfect when they had missed field goals. But anyway, you see what you want to see.
The Ohio State kicker will not be up for the Groza Award. We have gifted 5 memberships to the college football family. Thank you to us, I guess. Marcus William. If I'd known this was going to a Michigan guy, I wouldn't have allowed it. Cougar, Nittany89, Michael Tamez, Stephen Schur. You were all gifted a membership. Welcome to the College Football Mafia family. When we get to the off season, we do some members only videos, some members only streams. We've got slammed this during the season here. So we've also got a super chat from our friend Ryan Willie. Ryan, I feel your pain. What ESPN wants, ESPN gets. Pretty much the worldwide leader in basically prodding sports. So Becky Go Husky says she would take. Thank you for the super chat, by the way, Ryan. I'll give you a little. I didn't charge up the tablet today. USC job just for the NIL alone over the UCLA job. So Shonsky says, Moen, sorry for the Ohio State loss. I can't stand Michigan. Well, that makes 2 of us, Shonsky. Thank you very much. Thank you for being a member. It is much appreciated. Yeah, Illinois still getting no love, only moved up 2. I hear you. I do look forward to Penn State against Oregon. I've wanted to see them play for years. Similar recruiting, similar standings, and ranking every year. Yet they never get to play each other. Well, they get to play each other. I believe next year they're on the schedule for each other. So they will get to play next year as well.
I'll give you a little hint for Becky. I don't think there's any hope for Penn State in this game against Oregon. In terms of our
I think you'll be surprised. I think the game's going to be closer than people expect.
I do not think it's going to be closer than people expect. I don't know what the line's going to be, but Penn State is a good team. I'm not saying they're not. I'm not saying they don't deserve to be where they're at. I just think that Oregon is going to do things to them that are illegal in a lot of states.
Antoine Coates says Kenny Dillingham should be National Coach of the Year. He probably had the most to overcome this year of any coach. I can't disagree with you. Cannot disagree with you.
I mean, I don't know how you go wrong with either him or the Google Me guy. Both of them. A lot of stuff that Kenny had to deal with. Indiana's literally never been relevant in football.
By the way, Ryan Willie, thank you again for the super chat. I just want to let you know I was rooting hard for Greg to eat that cheeseburger.
One of the most disappointing outcomes of the 2024 college football season.
Right next below Ohio State losing to their rival for the 4th year in a row with Greg Pfluger not eating a cheeseburger. And I was ready to pay for the DoorDash to his house with the exact cheeseburger too. So if Illini had an SEC logo on their jersey, they would be ranked in the top 15. Yeah, there you go. You'd also have
they shouldn't be.
You'd have officials that hand you 14 points as well, which would be most helpful, I'm sure.
I think Illini's a top 20 program. I don't think they're a top 15 school this year, but there's nothing wrong with top 20. We're arguing over one slot or two here.
Yeah, trust me, Illinois had some rough seasons. So Alabama should be number 13 because I scheduled the week game. There you go. Yeah, they scheduled FCS opponents, but what are you going to do? Trade South Carolina ranking for Illini, in my opinion. Now, I do think South Carolina deserves a ranking where they're at. They are probably the hottest team in the SEC. That's a team I don't want to play in the playoffs. But Clemson had them.
Clemson had them. We're so close to not having this conversation, but dabboed.
Yeah.
our
Clemson,
Klubnik really.
Clemson.
Well, I mean, I feel for the rest of the team and that fan base, right? If you saw the post-game press conference and, after the truck that Dabo threw at Klubnik, of what he told him to do versus what he did, like, not exactly the welcome players to Clemson sign you want to put out there, even if it was true.
Marcus Williams is laughing at me. Says, thank you for the membership. Use it well. Use it well. Savor the flavor. Clay Johansson, sorry, Moen. He says that GB word that I'm not going to say.
Yep, and we've already set the precedent. We're not saying it today in your honor.
Shouldn't Oklahoma be ranked number 1 in that FPI? Yes, but ESPN wants to make sure the SEC teams get into the playoff.
I mean, really, if we come down to it, I don't know. Remember if it's Georgia Southern or Georgia something else, but technically they should be number 1 because if we just keep doing why the SEC is great because of who they play versus who they played, eventually we get to them being number 1 in the country because they beat Vandy.
Mo and I had trouble getting into the last members only thing. Nathan, you're not a member right now. That might be part of the problem. I don't know if that was the case when you did that last time, but if it was, let me know and I will get it corrected, sir. Penn State, a lot less travel to Indianapolis than Oregon. That's true. But I will say this. It's a domed stadium, which probably does favor Oregon over Penn State.
Yeah. Have you seen lines yet on that one?
Yeah, I've got them up. We got them up. It's in our Discord. I put the picks up for this week. Ryan Willie was pulling for the cheeseburger too, but you were a man of your word. You did gift those memberships to Greg. You did it. You did it in the third quarter. That was a little premature, but I've watched Oregon play, and they aren't a dominant team. I see them struggle as others. Penn State wins.
Yeah, so Oregon is. I'm looking at the early lines, a 3.5-point favorite on a neutral field there against Penn State. I think that I actually like that line. I don't think that they are a dominating team, but I also don't think they're gonna eke by Penn State because I don't think Penn State's a dominant team either.
Marcus Williams, explain to the people why the hate between UM and OSU is deep. It goes back to the 1830s, guys. We literally fought a war against Michigan for Toledo. Somehow we wound up with Toledo, and they got the Upper Peninsula out of the situation. I don't know how that works, but that's typical Ohio luck right there for you. You fight for Toledo, you get Toledo, and they give Michigan the entire Upper Peninsula that is rich with minerals and lumber and all kinds of natural resources, and it makes Michigan a much richer state. So there you go. Thank you for the super chat, Marcus. Ryan Willie, good thing I blocked Tony. We'll never hear the end of his Wisconsin hate. Well, he's not even here. Oh, wait, there he is. He is here. I take it back. He just popped in. I guess he wasn't chat. But you know what? Use that hate and get him next year, Ryan. Get him next year. Although you better find a quarterback because I don't know what that quarterback is, bipolar or something. He would throw terrible pass, and then he'd throw like a perfect pass into the end zone. I'd be like, well, that was a beautiful pass. Why doesn't he just throw it like that all the time? Or at least 80% of the time. Illy Buck says, I thought it was body of work. I think he's talking about FPI.
I think the body of work influences that how they look forward. It's supposed to be a forward-leaning indicator.
Towtown Hawk, I can't believe we went out with a whimper Saturday, played close all year, and then got absolutely smoked on defense. You know what? But it could have been worse. It could have been worse for you because I didn't think that they would roar back the way they did this season.
Yeah, it could have been worse.
You could have been lose out.
You could have been Oklahoma State.
That's true. Oh boy, wow. Oregon 3.5 easy money. That's probably why I won't bet it. Mullen, you should use the duck hunt bird shot and fall sound for KU's effort this weekend. We actually talked about it in our group chat. I wanted to make the light blaster from the Nintendo Entertainment System, the trophy that Washington and Oregon played for. Penn State has only given up 15 total points in the second half all year. Very true. Good defense. Good defense. Travis Hunter was special on Friday morning, was sitting right in front of his third touchdown. Special man.
I think he's amazing. I just really wish he didn't do the Heisman pose during a loss the week before, the last game before that. That's it. Like, nothing of hating on his ability, but read the room, understand.
Listen, I think the Heisman pose is just overrated. I think
it was awesome the first time.
So much.
The first time it was done, it was cool.
Yeah, it was fine. You do it, but I think it's just way overused now. Penn State wins, says Becky. So she just ruined all the mystery of her pick tomorrow night on the Big Ten Mafia show.
She did. And Becky, your hate is going to lead to your suffering in our finals.
I'm going to be rooting for Penn State. I don't want to see a new team come in and win the Big Ten. I want that.
By the way,
money.
If I'm not mistaken, that's possibility in every single of the P4 conferences.
Yeah.
You got Texas can do it, Oregon can do it, Arizona State can do it, and SMU can do it.
Yep. Yeah. But let's stop that happening from happening.
I can't root for Penn State. I don't want to root for Oregon, but I can't root for Penn State. But I also am rooting for Oregon because it was my preseason pick in our overall pool. So
that's true. And I had Ole Miss versus Ohio State in the national championship game. Oh, boy, I really shot myself in the foot on that one. All right, guys, I think we're going to wrap it up. We've been on the air for an hour and 15 minutes. I think I probably spent a half an hour of it motherfucking Ryan Day, but needless to say, I won't put monetization on this video because I probably said the F word way too much to get monetization on it. So if you're watching on demand, enjoy that ad-free. Consider giving us a super chat or joining us on a live show sometime. Join us and just leave a comment. We love that stuff. If you're watching, make sure you give us a like. If you're not a subscriber, make sure you subscribe. And we will see you guys tomorrow night at 8 p.m. for the Big Ten Mafia show with myself, Becky Go Huskies, and Sergeant Pickles to go over all the action in Week 14 of the Big Ten. Including Ohio State losing to a 500 Michigan team. So, Rock and Rant, do you have one for the road?
I'm just going to be, I'm not super religious, but I might just be praying until Tuesday night to see whether or not I have anything to worry about or if I can get excited about the Pop-Tart Bowl.
All right. Is that really where they would end up, Pop-Tart Bowl?
I have no idea because effectively I couldn't care less about the bowl season in the playoff era.
There you go. And here's my one for the road. Ryan Day, you need one for the road too. All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for tuning in again, and we will see you next Sunday. Immaculate will be joining us at Immaculate View on Twitter. You can jump over there, take a look at his rankings, but he will be there next week to break it all down for us. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.